Now available to own on video and DVD.
NICKtendo.
So in all of the videos I made in the past year, I've had this shelf behind me where I've displayed a lot of figures and merchandise because I love to show off all the cool things that I have and you probably don't. There's a few very notable objects that are permanent pieces of the display, but something that I rotate quite often are the DVDs and Blu-rays, and I want to feature those today. I've always been a big fan of physical media. Streaming and buying digital versions of movies and television is kind of a necessity to keep up with what's current in the entertainment landscape, but for me, there's something to be said about being able to hold a product I enjoy in my long, spindly fingers and displaying it on a shelf, creating a tangible representation of my interests. This is why, over the past couple of years, I built up a bit of a collection of animation on DVD and Blu-ray, more so for cartoons rather than animated films. For this video, I wanted to take a quick break from chatting about some cartoon for 20 minutes or so, and instead focus on how I watch many of the things I review in the first place. I don't have a huge collection, and I'll only be talking about a handful of the bigger and more notable releases, but this should help you figure out what you should look for if you want to put together a collection of your own. Just know that I'll be talking exclusively about Region 1 releases, meaning that most of what I'll be looking at is exclusive to the United States and Canada. Region-free DVD players are out there, but I don't happen to own one, meaning that I'm stuck with only what's been made for my country. Anyway, here's some DVDs. Let's talk about them. Cartoon Network has done a very poor job giving their original series proper home releases over the years. Only 7 shows and miniseries, not including any acquired or Adult Swim programs, have been fully released. The rest have gotten either nothing, a season or two, or a few volume DVDs filled with a random number of episodes. This goes for both shows that are recent and decades old. You compare this to what Mad Men Entertainment has been doing with their Australian and UK releases of Cartoon Network shows, and the difference is day and night. They got all of regular show, full seasons of We Bare Bears and Gumball, Over the Garden Wall, and Steven Universe Blu-rays, and even a season of the Powerpuff Girls reboot. They even got Captain Planet too! Get these guys the rights for US releases ASAP! As much as this makes me want to move out of my home country, because cartoons on DVD are a very legitimate reason to do so, I already have some pretty alright Cartoon Network DVD sets here already. We'll begin with the Powerpuff Girls 10th Anniversary Collection, which is a good set with a couple of slight drawbacks. Each pair of DVDs accompany each other really well, and they all contain a small double-sided insert with the contents on one side and unique connecting art on the other. The menus are simple but easy to navigate, and the set is packed with extras. Tons of original promos, in-character commentary, all the specials produced for the original series, and the banned episode, See Me, Feel Me, Know Me. If you've never checked that one out, then you're missing a very confusing and polarizing experience. The cases and box are made of really cheap plastic and cardboard that wears easily, and the discs are double-sided. This might have seemed like a smart move to cut costs and keep the amount of discs in the set small, but these just look ugly without any art at the top, and you have to be extra careful not to scratch them up. I'd rather just have 2 discs per season rather than deal with the extra problems that having double-sided discs create. This is also the bulkiest DVD set that I own, which could be a deal breaker for some wanting to save space on their shelf. If you're really into the original Powerpuff Girls, I'd say look into this, but for a casual fan, wait till the prices drop $15 or so. Years ago, Samurai Jack was released in its entirety on DVD, but after Season 5 dropped, Adult Swim released a full Blu-ray set for the entire show. I own the series in both formats, and each are pretty solid ways to watch it. Again, for both formats, the artwork on these is great, with all the discs in both sets having matching designs. Well, almost matching designs. The DVDs display episode lists and descriptions on the cardboard sleeves, and even display an image for each episode on the menu, while on the Blu-ray set, any episode list or descriptions of any kind are nowhere to be found, even on the menus. The content between both formats is identical, and they didn't upscale any of the extras for the Blu-ray either. The main draw for buying the Blu-ray is just having all 52 of the original episodes in the best quality possible. The aspect ratio hasn't changed, though these episodes were produced from 2001 to 2004, so changing this would only serve to sacrifice the quality, but each episode still looks very sharp and crisp. I'd say just go for the Blu-ray set if you aren't on a budget. It only costs about $10 more than buying all of the DVDs individually as of now. You get a cool metal plate and glossy box along with it, and generally, I think that this is the best way to experience the original seasons. Rounding out my Cartoon Network releases are the sets for Adventure Time and Over the Garden Wall. The season DVDs for Adventure Time have some of the coolest packaging I've seen. The slipcase, the plastic case, the paper insert, and the discs each make up a layer of a character for each season. Like for season 1, there's Finn, then Finn without his hat, then his guts, his skull, and his brain. Sometimes they got a bit overambitious with the designs, like Ice King's beard was bent out of shape just by sliding the DVD in and out of the slipcase. But I admire how detailed and creative they got with what was on each part of each set. All the menus for all the seasons are nearly the same though. They cycle through all the same few background tracks from the show, and the menu layouts are pretty much identical. On certain occasions, the coloring of the icons made it confusing to tell what I was clicking on when there were only 2 options on screen, which was kind of a huge problem, but in later sets this was fixed. The extras here are fine. There's a fair amount for each set, like animatics and featurettes, though the DVDs would like you to believe that there are more. Yeah, having all the episodes and the complete season aren't exactly things to brag about. Seasons 1 through 3 also have commentary tracks, some of the weirdest and most unorganized that I've seen. Sometimes the audio will cut out and will be replaced by ukulele music, or the visuals of the episode will be replaced with something entirely different. I never really got into these, but I do wish they kept doing them for just a little longer than they did. The Over the Garden Wall DVD has pretty generic menus and packaging, but this thing is loaded with features. There's a lot of small featurettes and deleted scenes, but also commentary tracks and versions of each episode with only the music. The soundtrack to this miniseries is as high quality as cartoon scores get, and with this DVD, you can now clearly hear the vocal tracks they wrote as background music.
Send me a peach from old Georgia, down where the Savannah flows. If I could have one bite of Georgia, I would feel right here at home.
With the Adventure Time sets, you won't be missing too much if you prefer just getting the episodes on iTunes, and there's really no differences at all between the DVD and Blu-ray releases of the seasons, but the Over the Garden Wall set is a must-buy for any fan, especially if you want to hear Elijah Wood give really generic descriptions of the miniseries.
If this show were a record, it would be played on a phonograph.
Terrific.
Paramount Home Entertainment has handled releases for the biggest Nicktoons over the years, including over 80 different compilations and box sets for SpongeBob SquarePants. From 2002 to 2012, there would be 3 to 5 different DVDs for the series put onto the market annually, each with a small number of assorted episodes. You've most likely owned at least one of these discs just by the sheer number of them that were produced, though some level of effort was put into many of them. The extras were typically nothing special, and the menus for nearly every single DVD feature the SpongeBob credits theme on an endless loop, but there's a good bit of charm that was put into most of the visual presentation and packaging, a lot of which featured entirely original art too. They also had very good marketing for these DVDs. Like, I can recite that song that advertised SpongeBob's second season from memory just because of how many times I saw it.
SpongeBob second season, SpongeBob second season, now on DVD, now on DVD, complete second season, complete second season. Are you ready? Are you ready?
The DVDs were at their best with the sets for the first few seasons, where there was tons of original art that represented all the different episodes, letters written by Steven Hillenburg himself. But the SpongeBob set I have the most memories with is the first 100 episodes. Released to coincide with the franchise's 10th anniversary, the first 5 seasons were released in one package across 14 discs, and it was pretty well done. There's a scarce amount of bonuses compared to how many episodes you're getting, but you do get all of them in production order, a dozen or so creator commentaries, the version of Shanghai that originally aired, and the pretty good Square Roots documentary, which includes discussion on whether or not SpongeBob is gay. Not joking about that last part.
Something about SpongeBob that whispers gay.
Someone was clearly having a field day making the menus for this set, since all 14 discs have entirely different visual designs and different background music from the series soundtrack. Looking through all these menus is like flipping through the pages of a SpongeBob style guide. Too much work went into all of these. Pretty much all the SpongeBob DVDs also have well-designed packaging, with the contents for each disc being clearly displayed on the back and inside of each case, and also include a great feature that I wish more TV show sets would use. Only the first episode on the disc plays the theme song. The rest cuts straight to the episode, so there's no need to fast forward. I love this feature so much, and I'm glad that it became a standard for releases of this series. Nowadays, SpongeBob DVD sets are nothing to write home about. They have some really great visual quality for only being in standard definition, but include mediocre menus and extras as a trade-off. I recommend you buy the first 100 episodes if you have a choice in buying only one set for the show. Last year, it even got a cheap reissue that puts the whole set in one case without removing any major features, so that's even more of a reason to check it out. I think I've spent enough time praising collections I enjoy, so let's get into some of the worst sets I own, starting with the Fairly OddParents DVDs that you can only find on Amazon. Tons of Nicktoons have only gotten home releases through burn-on-demand DVD recordable media. These are basically official bootlegs. They have no extras whatsoever and menus that are very bare bones. The DVD for the 3-part special Wishology is in SD, despite all of the episodes being produced in HD. There was no reason for the aspect ratio to be cropped that way, but I guess they just didn't care enough to fix it. If you're interested in owning any of the Nicktoons that have been released in this format, stick with the digital releases. They're in a much better quality, and those actually go on sale, unlike these DVDs, which have been stuck at $15 to $20 price points forever. I can only hope that a company like Shout Factory will eventually get the rights to give proper releases to shows like My Life as a Teenage Robot and Chalk Zone that only have DVD-R sets at the moment. But in the meantime, this is the only way to physically own series like Doug. What a shame such a classic like Doug has to be treated so poorly. Another line of DVDs I mentioned before are the Johnny Test DVDs. I have a lot of cherished mementos to remind me of the mediocre things I used to enjoy when I was younger, and these 3 DVDs I still own are chief among them. The only remotely cool thing about these is that some list exactly what episodes are contained on each disc, and I think that's just a great feature that other DVDs should have. Everything else sadly fails to live up to the high standard of quality that the Johnny Test series is known for. The cover looks like someone just overlaid a bunch of different screenshots and artwork from different sources and called it a day. All of the menus continue that awful visual design, and the choice of extras are just bizarre. Instead of getting behind the scenes or any insightful content, we get bonus episodes from unrelated shows that are just here because the DVD distributor also had the rights to them. I haven't even heard of any of these before, except for Super Duper Sumos. I'm sure glad I recognize that one.
We have been blessed with a lot of guts and really large behinds. We should take those guts and spread them around.
I don't know what was up with the packaging either. Each disc is held in its own cheap plastic slipcase, and I just have to ask why. Was it more expensive than producing cases with discs kept on pages? I don't know, but I do know that it's such a hassle to carefully remove each disc from its individual plastic sleeve. You're better off just watching the show on Netflix. Currently, it's one of the only non-Netflix originals that I even use the service to watch. Not joking about that either. Now, I know that talking about Johnny Test might be a very great note to end on, as it is always, but I do want to feature one last line of DVDs, one that may be the very best to be released for any cartoon out there. The Simpsons Collector's Edition season sets are a necessity for any fan of the series. Simple designs, mountains of original art and animation, detailed mini-episode guides, and some high-quality commentary tracks that feature talent involved with the entire series. So much care and attention has been put into preserving these episodes in the best way possible, and this level of attention can be seen in nearly all 19 seasons that have been released. I picked up seasons that I don't even care for just for the great physical and digital content that comes alongside them. There have been a few hiccups in some of the sets. They didn't get very impressive until around season 6. Some of the earliest commentary is very dry. The season 20 set just kinda stinks. The character head DVDs they did for about 5 seasons were a terrible idea from the start. The packaging after season 10 makes it a pain to reach the discs, and the transitions for season 3 are just terrible. However, for For a line of DVDs that has lasted over 15 years, the level of consistency that they've reached is pretty impressive, and I'm glad that these are still in print and new releases are being put out to this day. It would be nice if they weren't 10 years behind what's being aired, but the sets are still great, nevertheless. There's a ton of other sets I want to talk about, like the Blu-ray for the Spectacular Spider-Man, the Shout Factory Nicktoons releases, and season sets for a few other adult cartoons, but I'll save those for another time. My collection isn't finished either. There's still a couple of other shows I want to get into collecting, and some more current releases that I'm definitely going to get, like the Gravity Falls Blu-ray set, and that Steven Universe Season 1 set with the cover that looks like it's possessed by a demon. And that about wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, even if the subject matter was pretty different from what I'm used to covering. I'll be back soon with more Spider-Man, but in the meantime, I'm NICKtendo, and if you'll excuse me, I need to go for a little walk with a couple of DVDs I own for no particular reason. Just going for a little walk, and oops, I tripped and they ended up in the trash. How did that happen?
This October, SpongeBob second season, SpongeBob second season. It's got special features, yeah, it's got special features. SpongeBob second season, that's SpongeBob second season.